when it comes to fintech application, I think before I begin to do the video stack, I need to let us know what is paramount to us. If there is one thing we know about money, security comes first. While we talk about the security involves everything from creation of your product, from the code level to the DevOps segment of your product, and as well as the usability of the application out there in the cloud. So now, when it comes to technical stacks, there are no final answer to this, but most of the opinion that we have will be based on our exposure across the industry. So now there are 3 layers to system engineering when it comes to launching the products from your company to the outside world, in which case we have an end user that will be using it. So we're talking about the back end system and the front end. Front end is further categorized into 2, the mobile app segment and the web app segment, where you access the resources through your web browser. So for the tech stack, majorly for the backend, if it is fintech, so fintech are in grid. So where you are just interested in customer information, things that are not very, very sensitive. Node.js is taking the space. But when you are actually after security, where it is a core solution that move money or move funds from one place to another, the leading head technology is Java and C# for that kind of development. Then when it comes to your choice of data storage, I mean the stack around databases, you want to go for PostgreSQL. Postgres is well known because of its explicit locking. When you're dealing with locking, I mean that one has to do with things around account balance and making sure that multiple transactions at the same time will not be able to access your account balances. Then because of the kind of experiences that users are having these days, they want everything to be very fast. So you'll be thinking of scalable databases for yourself, and in which case, depend on the level of your user databases and the what we usually call load testing that you have actually carried out. But the basic one is just to have a replica for the database. And once the replica is there, you can actually double it all based on the requirements. And in which case, whereby people are actually pulling their data, like this is festive period, and you can be sure that everybody wants to be checking their transaction history per time. So it becomes paramount that you probably shift some of your data to the big data platform. Microservices, so you need to have like 2 or more services intercommunicating with themselves. So we have different design patterns for that one, whether you want to talk about 2-way commits or you want to talk about the Saga pattern itself. But either way, anyone that you choose is always right. Like I said, there are no final answer to this kind of system. Or you might just want to explore more, maybe to know the do's and don'ts, but I don't think that is actually the scope of this discussion today. So for your queuing, I mean, for your intercommunication pattern within your microservices, what I mean there is that when users sign up, the user management system might actually be used to communicate to account management system to open a new bank account in Nigerian bank. So those kind of communication, we usually use queuing system to provide them. ActiveMQ and Kafka, they are actually taking the space for those kind of things. Then after that, I think the core technology that matters to you is probably latency, memory management. So in terms of why do we need to go to database for more frequently accessed data? So in which case, you can just employ your normal Mcache. Some systems still uses Redis. So those are the core technology you will deploy in backend. So when you begin to move to front end, for the web parts, of course, we know React and Angular are still taking for why some people still prefer Vue. So personally, I recommend React because I've actually worked with it extensively and it has solved a lot of fintech solutions, which I have been able to witness either directly or indirectly. So then when we begin to talk about mobile, the thing about mobile is that we want to be efficient in our solution, meaning the way we write a single code base to access different browser in the world. We really want to do that, but that luxury is limited when it comes to mobile app because we have 2 core flavors of OS, which is Apple OS instead for the iPhone and the Android segment. So in which case, if you have resources, I actually recommend, if you have what it is, you can actually have different pipeline for the 2 because the limitation that comes with using a one code base to power both your Apple and Android devices that there are bits of core functionality that are native inherent. And most of those things we always surface, especially when it comes to things like KYC, which is know your customer. Yeah, so while I'm trying to close out on the first question, I think the next segment now we I don't know if it's limited, but I think the operational aspect and the DevOps linking, which I think we all use various tools depending on who is hosting your application on the cloud for that purpose. But most of the time, I think most of the customization you have and the best technology you will still have out there to drive your application with Kubernetes, and probably use something like embedded deployment tools in both your GitLab and GitHub. By the time you have that, maybe your AWS, and you begin to talk of everything between operations of the system as well. Majorly, those are the tech stack I would recommend. For your backend, stick with, if it is a money-heavy application, you want to stick with that C# or your Java. Then if it is not, I mean, Node.js can still do the work a lot of time. If you are interested in AI-related tools within your system, I mean, Python is always okay. And for your front end, React is my most preferred, but Angular and Vue can still do the work very, very well. Then when it comes to mobile app, you want to stay with cross-platform React Native, then Swift and Kotlin for both your iOS and Android app respectively. Yeah, so those are the techs I recommend. From experience, you realize that security is almost a myth, and if you are very familiar with the cybersecurity words, they will tell you that an absolute secure system is almost impossible. And if you come with this ideology, you realize that there are times you need to prioritize usefulness of your application after you have making sure that you have beyond reasonable doubts, you have actually secured your level to the point whereby it will take an average effort to crack into your system. That is what we are actually driving at. And what does that mean to you as a designer or as a tech analyst that is developing a system? So what it means for you is this: recognize that a more secure app is mostly not only going to be useless to the hacker, it's probably going to be useless to the user that you're even building the app for. So because of that, the more you lock out an hacker, the more likely you're going to even load the user. So a very good example is we have the 2FA, you have the biometric, you have the validate phone number and the like, just because you want to secure people. So you begin to realize that not only is hacker finding it difficult with your app, the user itself that is not even hacking his own account begin to find it difficult. So that leads you to a situation whereby, what should you do? I think what you should need to just do at that point in time is realizing that, one, security is both a product concern as well as the end user concern. And that is why to reach a balanced strike is just to ensure that beyond reasonable that the app is secured. I mean, on your back end and your front end, they have done everything well to make it for a layman not to be able to break into your app. The other segment, I mean, that involves making sure that the database layer is clean up, they don't leave any traces on your log entries, they handle the white labeling, they secure the app by hosting it on the standard cloud platform, and they handle all basic routine activity like changing of SSL certificates and the like. So having done all that, the next thing you now want to focus on for your product is the usability. So now there is always this equation: will user find this thing difficult to implement because we want to secure the app or not? They are likely going to find it difficult to follow through. Let me give you a very good, interesting problem that we usually encounter. There used to be an argument: how many minutes does an app take before it logs you out? Inactivity of 30 seconds is not much. I mean, just to be secure. And the argument is, it is not overkill. You are just trying to safeguard the well-being and the financial records of the user. But while you look at it, 30 seconds is not just overkill. It is still a problem. Another thing that will make you to quickly increase that thing is that you will see that 30 seconds is a big number when an hacker wants to hack your system. What happened to the first 5 seconds if an hacker is actually after you? So most of the script that we actually hack a system, they don't take more than 3 seconds to implement. I mean, 3 seconds is way too much. We are using a shell script to probably write a call or DDoS attack or anyone. So your choice of 30 seconds doesn't solve a problem of hacker in the long run. It really doesn't, because 30 seconds is way, way too much for an hacker to access your system and capitalize on the fact that you have been hiding. We call it a session hijacking for those people that are very interested in cybersecurity. So because of that awareness that you already know that, oh, this 30 seconds doesn't still solve my problem, why not give them freedom of 2 minutes? Because most cases, users are going to find your app very, very annoying if you ask them for password every 30 seconds, just because they are idle. If you are actually at the logger end and you don't know what is possible, you can actually drive that in by configuration. Allow them to configure that from their system the way you can on your mobile app today, or on your Android device or your iPhone device, how many seconds it takes for my phone to lock itself. So you can actually make that kind of attribute open for them, and then they pass it as part of their profile configuration. So wherever they are using their mobile app, it is what they tell you they want to be logged. And at that place, you have not compromised your security and you have not compromised the usability of your app. So among that, you can deploy the same means across multiple feature, maybe password length. What is the choice of password length? Some said let it be minimum of 12. Some said 20 is very strong. I also have another saying there. There is no password that is secured. There is no password that is secure. If the user is very careless, there is no password that is secure. There is a keylogger app, and a keylogger app is a cybercrime tools whereby they install it on your app, and before you know, anything you type on your keyboard is sent without your consent to an external application or to an external server. People can see when you're entering your username and password, you see the keystroke. So whether your password is 100 word in length or 50, it doesn't save you if the user is careless. And that's why I say security is not a product concern, it is both product and user concern. And if you can take that as a fact, then you will be able to downplay your security concern just to make sure that your app is very, very usable for multiple people. When it comes to minimizing downtime, I think we are mostly talking about solutions that are already in production. So we limit this answer to the scope of apps that are currently in production. So for apps that are currently in production, the best practice is to just have different environments. Not only because of testing, but because there are some unpardonable errors that can only happen at the testing phase. What that means is, if you are on production and we have a new feature, a bug report, what we first need to do as a software engineer is to separate the environment. This is production and this is testing or development environment. So the moment we get that done, when the feature comes, we are merging from the GitHub or the GitLab, it's actually go through pipeline, automation, or what we call CI/CD, right? So it's deployed straight to the development environment and the solution is available. And if you do everything well using your automation tools, your QAs will get notified via email from Jira Alerts that yes, this feature is not being built. So ideally, where things get complicated is one, clarification of idea or feature. What make acceptable criteria? What are we looking for? What make a true positive? What make a true negative? These are the background work that needs to be done before the first line of code is being written. And this information are what QA needs to access to be able to make up his own test cases. So you will discover that testing an app is inexhaustive. And that is why we have what we call acceptable criteria. So it makes our QA engineer to know what matters as far as this application is concerned. There are some edge cases that will not happen. We know that it might happen, but we know intrinsically that it will not be a problem for us, even if it eventually happens. So we narrow our scope to things that matters to us. So a very good example is you build a transfer service for an application, maybe a new feature. Okay, before now, your application has majorly been collecting money and people withdrawing that money through their wallet account, majorly, maybe to make a purchase on Jumia Food or Jumia Pay or Uber. But now, you are stepping up your game as a fintech company and you decide to introduce a transfer application or transfer services, whereby now people cannot just withdraw their money to do something. They can actually withdraw that money and send it to somebody else's account in VBA or Access Bank. If you are trying to test this feature and you have separated the environment to dev and production, your QA receives this information. He must know the acceptable criteria for your process to be smooth and fast. Also, acceptable criteria make your engineer to focus on what matters to you. Now, on your acceptable criteria, is where you will not specify the behavior when you don't have minimum account balance and you want to transfer, or the behavior that happens when you are actually trying to move all your money from your account at once, so much that we don't even have a transaction charges available. So all those ones become an edge cases for you to be looking for discrepancy or the erroneous behaviors of the system. So engineer can build those things without putting them in mind, but QA will safeguard all those kind of things. But when you look at it, there are other edge cases that you will still look at in that kind of application. Somebody was, okay, what happens when you are trying to send 100 trillion, the money that Central Bank of Nigeria cannot even afford? It's a very interesting edge cases, but you really don't want to spend your time on it because you know that it's not going to happen. Not only because a careless user cannot type that amount, but you already intrinsically know that the system will not let that money go, because by the time you try to ship money from your settlement account, the transaction will definitely fail, because you are not going to have that kind of money. So why spending your time on those kind of edge cases? But the edge cases are actually important for you at this point in time as a software engineering team that really want to scale fast, is the behavior, like what happens if you don't have money, what happens if you have money, what happens if you are making simultaneous transfer at the same time, what happens if you double tapped transfer twice? Will it debited you twice and credited the recipient twice? All those are really what you want to focus on. If those are clearly labeled out in your acceptable criteria, you will spend less time in solving this kind of problem, and your engineering team can move with a little focus to know what matters. So most time, for some of what I've also worked on the mobile, from the mobile development arm, anytime you are trying to span a project, the system will inform you of the minimum version that you need. And a quick search on that minimum version will let you know what is available on that particular version of OS, which is your first number one concern. So a lot of time, there are some features that are genuinely needed for more recent OS, and there are some that you can just lower your constraint of a minimum OS version just to do it. But when it comes to literacy level and the like, what I will think we should suggest is this: you look at your market critically. What can you accommodate? What can you let go? So now, this is now a function of your value as a company. What are you not compromising on? So for example, if my company says security through biometric is our paramount, we are not playing game on it. The minimum needs for you is to have at least a system that can capture your facial recognition systems just for you to be able to access that. We will not compromise on that. And that won't become kind of a standard for the company. If you are satisfied your core needs as a company, I mean, the remaining one cannot be treated like we should either make it available on the luxury level. The luxury part is we still want people that are using recent version of iPhone to have that latest feature that come with it, maybe the AI tools of it available on our application. But you know that if you deploy that kind of system, it's going to break on an older version of iPhone that doesn't have that capability. So in which case, what you need to do is what we call sending the user device parameter to your backend for storage, so that you can be aware that this is the device that this person is using at this point in time. And if that one comes in, then you can automatically, with the help of internal storage memory that is on your mobile app, then you can now leverage on that to know which feature are premium feature that is only available on this particular version, and it will not bother anybody else. So you automatically hide that behavior when you are on the lower version, and in that case, it is just a plus for you if you have it, because it doesn't affect the core functionality in the first place. The core functionality is what you have handled when you are saying that, can we let go if you don't have biometric setup, or your device doesn't support facial expression and the like. With those kind of behavior, then you can still ship those complex features without breaking a device that doesn't have that capability in them, by using the device-centric approach, whereby you store some metadata on your device, which is actually a lot of things the application are already doing, not necessarily Fintech actually. As a software engineer, I take a lot of precaution, because I know how you can make or mar a product, I mean, legally speaking now. So it is important that before you take data of a user without their consent, you must know what is at stake. This kind of law, the penalty and the fine varies from different geographical location in the world. So number one thing is, you don't want to indemnify yourself. You make your terms of agreement clear on your system. The moment people subscribe to your app, they download the application, then the best thing is go through our terms of agreement. Okay, these and these are what we are collecting. And you make it plain. Whatever you say you are collecting, make sure that you're collecting. Even if you are collecting something and you don't know that, you believe that they will never find out that they are collecting it for your own good, you need to just let people know, legally speaking, because they can actually find out. Your footprint is always on the system, whether you like it or not. Anywhere you hide it, as far as you collect it from that device, that information linger around. And anybody that can just do what they call forensic analysis will get the information out for you. And you usually have those kind of people that do that service if a legal case arises. With that being said now, so after you have handled the legal issue, the terms and conditions, let us know what to collect and what not to collect. When it comes to your application itself, you need to know what an actionable insight is all about. Not every information available is useful for you. As a data scientist, one thing you just realize is that data is plenty, but informative data is very few. And the moment you look at it from that angle, you begin to narrow your search to things that really matter that still doesn't compromise people's privacy. So all those informations are what you want to focus on. What is data privacy? Data privacy is what I will find outside there that I cannot find it elsewhere if your app has not given it out. But a lot of time, most information, they don't fall under this category. So now, once you clear all those information, then the information that you are collecting from them should be something that, one, is available on your application because they subscribe to your system, but it is also a kind of application. It should also be a kind of information that they would have given out if a public survey has been issued. So information that people don't have difficulty giving out to a public survey, they don't really fall under that data privacy thing. But information that people will think twice before they even issue is out, even when they are promised a fill and pay form, they'll say no, then it becomes a security concern. And a yardstick is to just use yourself. You too, you are a human being. You don't need to go far to know what people will not give. You yourself, you can ask yourself, will I give this information if it were to be me? And that will actually make you to understand human behaviors. You know what you will give and you know what you will not give. You know the information that is not even relevant to whatever you are doing. Once you handle the legal case of it, make every information play. Oh, we are collecting this from you, and we are using it to gather data. So most personal information, they really, really don't take part in data analysis or data forecast. There is nothing your email want to do there. There is nothing your phone number want to do there. They don't make part of the data. Most of the things that make part of the data are usually statistics. How more recharges do you buy? So if you are buying recharge card 5,000 naira per day, the information is not leaking as far as I don't attach your email to it. So you can actually collect those information without leaving traces that this is it. So even if you go to popular data repo, personal information are always erased. You won't see the name, but you can see the blog group. They can tell you that this is the HIV status, but you will never see anything that points to this person in the workspace. You won't be able to know who owns that data because the key information that make that person who it is would have been stripped off. And those are the kind of information that you should also relinquish before you do your data gathering on a mobile app or on the web app. So once you do that, you can never go wrong in ensuring data privacy of anyone while collecting whatever you need for your insights. For a situation whereby you're moving your products from one region to another, anytime, because one, it is first a business before it becomes a product, and it is how it's supposed to be. It is a business that owns the product in the first place. And being a business, one of the core things is environment. The moment you enter a new environment, you need to realize something. Can you actually sustain yourself in this place, given the kind of environment that you find yourself? There was a question that was answering that I was talking about values. So when it comes to a new environment, you first of all want to establish the fact that are they aligning with your values? Do they allow you to do what you want to do? I know everybody's goals at the back of their mind. Aside making money, the first thing is to make life easier for every one of us. And if you are not in business to make life easier for everyone, it's a matter of time. They will just get you out of the way. Are you getting it? So if your primary objective is to make life easier and an environment enable you to do that, then you will always find a way to satisfy that environment without compromising on your system consistency. But where it's about downplaying your values or crossing boundaries from that environment is when there is value conflict. If you are very sure that there's no value conflict while your company is operating here in Nigeria and you decide to move down your company to UK, and there's no value conflict in what people in UK expect of your product from what people in Nigeria expect of your product, you will not likely have this kind of problem. But the variation that can actually exist is majorly things around certification, because the moment you begin to enter into a new territory, you remember they have their own body, they have their own structures in place, their own policy and the like. And then those their policy can force you as a business owner and as a technical team expert to to review whatever you have done in the other country. Hey, because they will criticize how you used to do it. So before maybe country A may say that, okay, you are allowed to collect people by metrics and use that one as a login pattern. But maybe in another country, they have a rule, a strict rule that this thing has been used before. Their fingerprint is stored not only on the device. I mean, there is online and offline validation when there's, so it depends on the way you are doing it.
Like I was trying to say, when you find out that you can actually fly your products in a new company without compromising your value, which is to make life better for anyone anyway. So in which case you are ready to actually go through their regulatory policy. And like I said, most regulatory policy will make you to actually find faults in your existing system. And in most cases, if you build a solid system before, you don't have a problem. But most regulatory policy only force you to improve your internal system yourself. And in which case you will now realize that maybe where you are coming from, their policy is in pit loose. That's why you can go scot-free. And that one will force you to do some re-engineering or deploy a profile-specific deployment for them just to cater for the changes. But in most cases, it is actually the hybrid of the two. You take what is good in country A, you bring it to country B, and you take what is good in country B, you bring it to country A, in which cases you will have a better standard than the overall product in both country A and B, because you are now using a global standard to measure your own metrics. So maybe in country A, they support online validation of biometric, but you realize that country B lets you to see why it is not good, why it even exposes your system to some bridging and data theft, then you definitely resolve to, guy, let's just do offline for everyone. Because if we do offline, we have lesser sleepless night. We don't have to worry about a lot of things, and you make that one a standard for your system. So in a way, cross country make a product better if you actually embrace the changes. And like I said, when it comes to policy, once your value is not compromised, it will be good for you to just go ahead and just do your homework to make sure you keep up to the pace of the new location that you are going to. When it comes to real-time analytics on your system, the best approach for it is to dedicate a different node outside your main node for it. So most of the time, what we just do is we treat those kind of information as a stream to another APIs entirely. So the real analytics that you will have, it will definitely, because your real-time request app, or what we call the main threads, the guy that is actually transferring your money, that is showing them transaction history in real time, that is recharging their account, subscribing to the GoTV, that particular thread is not what you are using to do the analysis. So you collect that information and you just delegate it back using queuing system or anything to further your analysis somewhere. So the analytics system itself is a standalone module, and that one processes your information and it generates insights based on that. Is that insight you now do a backward feedback into your system stream again. And when that information comes to your system, then your system cannot be able to make a better prediction model. So it is a more of ML model. So the data that you are gathering in real time, you feed it to an ML model, maybe a Python software. So that particular Python software, it generates a model. The model that it generated, you now send it back to you, which you will now be able to use. Okay, if this is the statistics that we are having, whether you have used your fuzzy logic or you have used your KNN problem to solve it, they can now say, okay, with the behavior of this user, what are we going to, what are the predictions we'll make? Should we now introduce into a job collection, or we introduce into vote? I mean, there is a vote system, or with this person from his insight analysis based on his checkout account and his last available balance inside that we have seen, will he be more prone to secure a loan with us? So those models are now what the main trade will now be using to give you something like advertisement. These are our service and product that you might be interested in and the like. But not to cause latency, just separate that concern. And most cases, if you can't separate them, you will always have to separate them because the best language for data analysis is not really what you are using to run your fintech app. As we begin to look at the years ahead, I think our problem, our needs have not changed. We want something easy. We want something readily available. We want something that make our life a lot easier. And then while that one has not changed, our problems too have not changed. And what is our problem? Cybercrime is everywhere. There is always somebody that wants to actually take advantage of vulnerability that comes with your comfortability. So the more comfortable you are, the more vulnerable you get. So, and I think the best thing is still within our biometrics. Though what I'm seeing in the future is something like composite biometric anyway, whereby you will have degree of freedom if you want to prefer your fingerprint to pay this time, but tomorrow you want to use your voice command, and the day after you actually want to use your facial expression to pay. So the freedom that gives is number one, it enables you to use what is available for time. I mean, it is okay, this is Amatan, you can actually have a voice problem easily. Your voice can begin to coerce. And if they limit it to one biometric means for you to access your easy payment approach, then you won't be able to do anything until your voice comes back. So that is actually why I think composite biometric is actually the way to go. It guarantees that the user is actually present, which is what you need to guard against cyber attack. But any other thing like wearable technology, anybody can take it up on your behalf. Anybody can actually manipulate it at the end of the day because of that. But if you stick with biometric, we can be sure that the person is actually at the other hand. Then when we look at composite, we can be sure that if any accident even happen, he lost his finger, his money will not be trapped forever. He can use his voice to reclaim it. So whereas there is a wide probability that you will lose everything that make you for your biometric system, but still we need to be optimistic that is not likely to happen. And the more composite biometric that we have, the more secure we are as an individual. That if anybody compromise my fingerprint, I can easily use my voice command and the like. So it's still biometric that will win in the coming future. So when you are working with a cross platform, though I don't know because that was when I used to be full stack anyway. I mean, for a while now, I've actually stayed a long way back. And so I really won't know the kind of improvement that have existed on those platforms. It's been a while I wrote React Native. Are you getting it? So, but the experience then was when you are trying to do capturing using things like React Native, you realize that there's always ANR error on the Android device. And the same perfect model that you use can easily work with iPhone devices. So you will begin to have application not responding or total crashing of your entire application, and the thing become unpredictable. So sometimes it will work and you will just be, and anything that is unpredictable is not suitable for a consistent application experience. So you cannot guarantee. When the user asks you that why is this simple, you can just tell them it will work tomorrow. It work on my bus. So that was my experience, and what we eventually have to do at that point in time was to separate the concern. When it becomes very difficult, I know of solutions that they will just route it to the web app to go and complete it. So those are the various alternatives that actually exist. Like I said, if you actually have what it takes to explore or to have different code bases for your iPhone and Android, it's a good thing to do. But if you have seen that your entire application is not doing anything complicated that is leading to conflict with native code, then cross-platform is also good. It saves time and it saves resources as well. From what we had, bank rules the world is a common axiom today. And if bank rules the world, the channel that bank used to operate is probably the second in command, and that is where fintech actually operates from. And also, somebody said something, which is what I've learned about fintech. It is easy to collect money from people when you are moving their money around. You are not likely to see anybody that say, help me to send this money to my friend in Akwa Ibom, but I'm not going to give you money to charge me for getting that done. What you just telling that instead of you sending 100 naira to that person, let me send in 80 naira. Let me keep my 20 naira as my errand boy. Are you getting it? So because of that, fintech usually get money at the end of the day because there's no how you will give me money to do something for you, and I will not have enough opportunity to collect my own portion. That is what drive profit in POS today. That's what drive profit in ATM machine. That is what drive money in what do you call it? Service, miscellaneous service like GoTV subscription, recharge card, and the like. The moment you handle money to a fintech app, he will not release that money until he collect his own from you. But I don't think there are other products like this that can claim that because they don't actually get in touch. They don't have direct contact with money. So this one is more of about engineering processes. Your development branch and your production branch, usually your development branch is always ahead. Is either is the same thing with your production or is ahead of your production. That's how it should be. So the day you decide to shift whatever is in your development branch to production, for that period, for that maybe tiny 5 seconds or 10 seconds, your production and development branch will be at the same pace. When you have to deploy a new feature, you should be branching out from your development branch because if you go and take production, you are likely to be a few commit behind your development because your development is likely to contain some changes that are currently not on your production. The moment you branch out from production and you make a PR to your development, you begin to have something called conflict problem because everything that is in development will still eventually be merged back to the production. We have different approaches for this. You can use a feature naming or you can use your Jira ticket naming to name your branch. Whatever is your branch, if you do it well, a lot of complex things to do around there is to link your Jira to your GitHub for seamless CI/CD and task movement. If you are doing a data migration, there must be a big reason why you are having a data migration, and there are levels of data migration. If you are still dealing with the same existing user, but you are just migrating them to a different platform, is another thing entirely. But if, like when Access Bank acquired Diamond, the migration that they are doing there is migrating your new user to the Access Bank data server mostly. But I believe the question at hand is a situation whereby you are migrating an existing user to a new infrastructure. So, and if you're migrating a new user to a new infrastructure, the best way to handle it is to use a schedule maintenance. By schedule maintenance, you really want to do it off peak hours. If you are doing it off peak hour, you can be sure that a lot of users will not be using their app around that time, and that migration will seems to be seamless. Then you can do it in batches as well. By doing it in batches means that the normal behavior that you will notify the user that there is going to be a critical maintenance. So you send them that message that there will be a critical maintenance. Let's say it's a very big application with user base. Then you want to do it in batch. Maybe for today, you want to focus on the first 200,000 users that you have. Those 200,000 are the people that should receive that message for that day. Those 200,000 people, if possible, log their accounts while you are doing the migration so that nothing can work for them. They won't even be able to log in. So inconsistency come when the user are still doing something while migration is going on. And that is what happens when those banks are trying to migrate. But if you have already informed somebody that you are doing migration, the best practice is log off their accounts. Make sure that they can log in. If they can't log in, can't do anything. If they cannot do anything, there won't be discrepancy between the data that you are moving from old server to the new server because everything will look clean by the time they go there because the user are not actually interacting with the system. And the concept of batching it is because you really don't want to shut down all users at once. It will be a bad experience for the user themselves. So if you actually deal with it in batches, the first 200,000 this night, tomorrow night we continue to the next 200,000 and up and over that. So the only reason is that if you plan to do this in 3 nights, you just need to call your system analyst and say, what resources do we need to carry this thing in just 3 runs of batches? We have 1 million user. We want to be able to migrate 400,000 today, 400,000 tomorrow, then the remaining 200,000 the third day. then they will give you the kind of server that you need to power that kind of data migration for you, and everything will be seamless. But the key point is lock your user out if you don't want inconsistency in data layer. When it comes to security, it's not entirely up to the app. Actually, user errors is accountable for almost 85% of scam that occurs. It's really not because of the applications themselves. So the only thing the application can do is to help you to mitigate your error. But the moment you compromise yourself, I mean, this is a festive period, link are just going around. Opay is dashing at 15,000. This one, yeah. I will just smile and tell people, say, don't let them scam you. Are you getting it? And like they used to say, it is who have nothing to lose that open those links. If you have 2 million in your account and you open those kind of links, the whole world will blame you that you are greedy. How can you have 2 million and be looking for 15,000? So I think at the end of the day, people that will end up opening those kind of links are people with maybe 2,500 naira in their account. So the first real security measure is to curtail your own covetousness as a bank user. There are things that bank app can do. I've seen some crazy idea. People say at gunpoint, what should you do? Your bank should be able to, they should allow you to set panic password to do this. And people say, see, it will only waste your life at the end of the day. But one logical thing you can always do when it comes to most of these things, the technology has advanced. That's why today you can be going about. I remember when we were in university and the mobile app are not this much. If you really want to collect money like 500,000, 1 million, you don't do it every day. But because of your mobile app is the reason why you are carrying that kind of money around on your mobile app today. But you know that you are not likely to touch that money. So a very good practice is while your app is implementing some feature, you too, you should be financially wise. And by doing that, have your core money in your core account. And if you have a tab at home or a system that is home system, just install the app on that system and don't bother to put it on your mobile phone, because what the thief doesn't see, it cannot steal from you. So if you have money in your OP and you don't install your OP on your phone, you can have other application on your phone, maybe another bank for that matter. And that bank is just your regular groundnut money or your miscellaneous money that is there. Money to top up your car, money to buy fuel to your car. But the money to handle your business project that is amounting to like hundreds of millions, you don't necessarily have to keep it because you know that you're not moving that money out anytime you feel like. So the day you need to move that money out, log on to your system or just log on to your iPad. If possible, uninstall the app again. Because the cost of you installing an app and logging is not as expensive as the cost of your money being wiped out just because you are victim of armed robbery attack. So that is just what I think. We have done a lot in fintech space to safeguard your money, to be very honest. Any application that you see outside there in Google Play Store or Apple Store, believe you me, they don't just ship them. They have made sure that thoroughly, unless the user is careless, you can't breach that app. But users are usually careless. They are converters. And because they are convertersness, cyber criminals, they exploit that. Even till today, I still have a case that I had recently that somebody is still supplying his PIN just because somebody said, come and do a raffle ticket draw. You know, people can be gullible, but this one, you can't blame an app for it. You really cannot blame an app for it. And that is why people should just look at it from that perspective that it's user now that need to be innovating themselves as well.